Dear family and friends, as we're about to begin our services, we'll kindly ask for everyone to please be seated today. We thank you. As we honor Nick today for our services, we kindly ask those in attendance, if we have a cell phone, if we can please turn them to an off position while we're together in the chapel, as well as we're at the gravesite for our interment services, which will be immediately following our services here today in the chapel. As you enter today, you received a memorial folder for the family, and you'll see on the inside is the specific information to which the family will receive condolences for Shiva today. Please reference that information on your folder. Officiating our funeral services today is Rabbi Stephen Stark Lowenstein.
A deep breath. Going to a funeral is sad. Gathering here for Nicholas's funeral is just plain wrong on every single level. Our hearts are so heavy. 38-year-olds shouldn't die. At a time like this, the only thing to do is to help each other cry. The death of this beautiful soul is a drastic reversal of the natural order. It just shouldn't be. I'm so sorry that we have to be here today. Washington Irving once wrote the following: "There's a sacredness in our tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love." So here we are. Our eyes filled with tears, our hearts heavy. With sadness to share our grief, and more importantly, to share our love. Life as we know it is both complicated and confounding. Life is filled with extremes. There is sorrow mixed with joy. There's wholeness alongside brokenness. We see the rain and the rainbow at the same time. But there are two truths that I know to be true as a rabbi. Number one is that the heart can withstand an incredible amount of joy and sadness at the exact same time. And that same heart can experience unbridled joy along with that sadness equally. These two things can happen at the same time, within the same moment. The heart that feels pain can also feel joy in equal measure. Today we feel that pain. Tomorrow we hope for that joy. Abraham Joshua Heschel once said the following: "In the presence of death, there is only silence and a sense of awe." Today we feel that awe. As we gather here, as we look at his urn, as we look at these beautiful pictures and the flowers, and the people that are gathered here in this room, and the many people that are gathered online, to remember, we feel that awe. It just shouldn't be. The journey through grief for all of us is unpredictable. You don't know where it goes. You don't know when it's going to start. You don't know if it will ever end. You know and don't know where it will lead you or who you will be when you get there. Anyone who thinks that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line will never really understand grief. Grief is not a linear process, with sadness diminishing each day until it clears up. Not for you, David. Not for you, Wendy. Not for you, Samantha. Not for you, Tim. Not for you, family members and friends, nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles, cousins, relatives, and friends. It's not a straight line. There's going to be good days and bad days for the rest of your lives as you think about Nick. Sometimes we can stand up in it. Other times it pulls us under. But grief is a sign that we love something more than we love ourselves. And today we feel that grief. We find comfort from the words of the Jewish tradition. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help today comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. No matter what faith tradition we may be from, and I know that there are lots of people who knew Nick from lots of different faiths. No matter what faith tradition we may be from, there's one psalm out of the 150 psalms that speaks to everyone. It reminds us that we're not alone. It reminds us that God is there to help us. It reminds us, and it's used by clergy of all different faiths, to remind us that we walk together in the valley of the shadow of death. But the psalmist who wrote this psalm, perhaps they say it was King David or Solomon. The beautiful words of the Psalms, with each word being meaningful, remind us that we think about what the psalmist said. I've always loved the fact that the psalmist who wrote the 23rd Psalm wrote something that's so significant. It's just one word. The psalmist said, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." The psalmist very easily could have written, "Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death." Still would have worked. "Yea, though I walk forever in the valley of the shadow of death," would have worked. "I feel like I'm always in the valley of the shadow of death," would have worked. But the psalmist was very careful in choosing the words. "Yea, though I walk through the valley." Because to Nick's family, you're going through something very hard right now. But to go through something means that there's a before, there's the period going through it right now, and then there's a new period that comes after. And we understand that. We walk through that with you. No one can walk this path alone. We help you walk this path together. In Hebrew, the words are so beautiful. Adonai ro'i lo eksar benot desha yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinachaleni nafshi yashovev yancheni b'mad le'tzedek lama'an shemo gam ke'elech b'ged salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi ach tov v'chesed yirdafuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti b'beit Adonai la'orech yamim. Please join with me in the words of the 23rd Psalm in his honor and in his memory. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pasture. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. At this hour, the blessed presence of family and friends brings comfort and strength. It says to us, "Be sure that love, the spring of life, abides." May all who mourn take heart as they remember the goodness they've given and received. And when the days of their mourning are ended, may the memory of their loved ones, may Nicholas's memory truly be a blessing. I've always loved the words of Rabbi Joe Black, commenting on the 23rd Psalm when he said the following: "Those who walk through the valley of the shadows wear no shoes. Their feet are cut and torn as they stumble through the darkness, with no time to pack a bag or say goodbye. They begin their journey unprepared, with no time to pack a bag or say goodbye. Nick's sudden death last Wednesday has turned our world upside down. Some people are dressed in their finery, jewels gleaming like stars in dim light. Others wear pajamas or work clothes or prayer shawls or bathing suits. Some clutch briefcases or papers or blankets or teddy bears. And everyone wears their grief. And with each cautious, painful step, they move further into the abyss. The chasm narrows. Stretching out their fingers, they trace the grooves carved by previous pilgrims. Handholds hewn into the cold canyon walls. Sometimes they march in silence. Other times, singing hauntingly beautiful melodies, their voices echo to the very vaults of heaven. The river that created this place does not flow from on high. It was formed and filled by the tears of those whose bruised souls traversed the trail. But no one walks alone. Stumbling pilgrims are quickly caught and held aloft by those who travel beside them. They're caressed and carried through the brambles and branches that, unexposed and hidden from the light, add to the chaos and confusion of the journey. And in time, for some, a light appears, far in the distance, piercing through the veil of darkness. Hope, long buried, rises to the surface like a beacon. And with it, the weary travelers ascend to find a world that has been changed forever by their absence. They return with pale faces and broken hearts. But now, as experienced travelers, they will always have a suitcase packed and ready. We're never ready for a moment like this. It happens. And we're left scrambling, trying to understand, trying to make sense out of it all. To Addison, Owen, and Taylor, I'm sorry you have to be sitting in this front row to say goodbye to your uncle. It's just not fair. We think of Hannah of blessed memory, which we know isn't fair. But we take great comfort in knowing that their two souls are together. Their two souls are together because when death occurs, a body gives out, but a soul lives on. Ever wonder why someone sneezes, we say, God bless you? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you say God bless you when someone sneezes? The answer is because your soul almost leaves your body when you sneeze. Every morning as Jews we pray, Elohai neshama shanatata bi tahurahi. The soul that you have given me, O God, is pure. You created and formed it. You breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. For as long as I have breath, therefore, I give thanks to you, God. We take 22,000 breaths every single day. But there comes a time when we take our last breath. And when we take our last breath, our soul leaves our body. The only thing that was cremated is a body. The only thing that we take to the cemetery here is a body. A soul lives on. And that soul of Nicholas has touched so many lives. And for that we're truly grateful. Bodies give out, but souls live on. Merritt Malloy said it best. When I die, if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need to give me something, give him what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children who need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. If you remember nothing else from today, I hope that you remember, love doesn't die, people do. David, yesterday after we met, you said that you had done some writing. At first, you called ramblings. But then, the second piece, you just wrote second in your own handwriting about Nick. And so it's my great honor today to act as your maturgamon, to act as your translator. These are your words, from the deepest parts of your heart and Wendy's heart for your son. Nick, Kiki, Uncle Kiki, Music Biz Marty, you came to us 6 pounds, 3 weeks early, and scrawny, April 30th, 1986. And you grew to be a beautiful, highly intelligent, precocious, bigger-than-life man, not destined to stay with us long enough. You played football and basketball with your group of friends in Glencoe, frequently had them at our home after school and on weekends. You were never a wake-up early, get a head start on the day kind of person. Getting you to school on time was next to impossible. You didn't really need to study because your mind worked differently. You absorbed information differently. You got to answers correctly but couldn't explain how you ever got there. Playing football at New Trier, you got cold-cocked with a helmet under your chin. You didn't know where you were for 10 minutes. A terrible concussion. I think that's when you changed. You didn't continue football and fell out from your athlete friends. Young brains either do or don't recover from such trauma. You have always been witty, humorous. And when you allowed us to see it was not just entertaining but informative from a very humble, unpretentious perspective. We don't know where your education information came from, but usually, like most of us, it had some reasonable basis effects. I know I learned a lot from you, especially over these last few years. After, I believe, losing most of my attitude about you and just letting you fully occupy my heart. You claimed to be conservative, but had an open heart to all. Your pride of being Jewish has remained prominent. A bar mitzvah in Masada, a big Star of David tattooed on your right breast, not intimidated by anyone about it. God bless you. You never were the typical go to work, pay the bills kind of person. You developed a large YouTube following as Music Biz Marty. I didn't agree with much of what went on there, but you made people laugh. A rare ability. And there were many who have written to support you and us at this terrible time. Maybe we didn't support you creatively enough or in a fashion that would have allowed you to have a less stressed life. Tough love versus letting you just do things and do your own thing. COVID wasn't kind to you either and gave you your first heart attack. After that, you just couldn't change your lifestyle. And here we are. You've left us filled with joy and with a broken heart. We will all miss you forever and cry our eyes out at never being able to touch, joke, hug, agree, and disagree with you. This is cruel to all of us, family and friends, and all of your followers. God keep you close to our hearts. Take the love of all of us with you. Be with Papa Irv and Booby Judy, Nana and Papa Jerry, Uncle Mike. Let Hannah be with you. You have been a kind, gentle, good person. This is a huge loss to all. God bless you, Nick, Kiki, Uncle Kiki, Music Biz Marty. Dad. David, thank you for those beautiful words. It truly was my honor to read those. Perfect. Perfect words. And to your words, I add some of my own and from some words that I gathered from others. In my 30 years as a rabbi here in Chicago, I can honestly say that I've never met anyone like Nick. Nick was big. Everything he did was big. The world just became a much dimmer place without him. He was kind, he was giving. He was the kind of guy that would give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. Nick had a big heart, a huge heart. Nick never followed a normal path, but always followed his own heart. As a 3-day-old baby, he arrived in Glencoe to his family. He came home and he became yours. He was, in your own words, a cutie. He was smart, he was kind, he was kind of kooky. He was mischievous. He was a big boy with a warm heart. He was always a little stubborn in a good way. You could never win an argument with Nick. He always won. Samantha, you said as children, you and Nick played so well together. You played with each other's friends. You did fun things. You made forts in secret places. Once you even made a spaceship. I'll let you tell the rest of the story. You said in your own words that he was always cool. And that the two of you never bickered. He was always so kind. And he did what you asked him to do. A true younger brother. He always loved animals, beautiful golden retrievers like Molly. Every animal he encountered. And as a family, you traveled so much. Paris and London. I love the picture that you showed me of Rabbi Paul Feinberg, formerly of Temple Sholem, who had moved to Israel, doing Nick's bar mitzvah in Masada, and a great picture of Nick wearing his Sammy Sosa jersey at the Western Wall when you were there as a family with Mendy as your guide. That was the year that Sammy Sosa was in the home run hunt. Maybe wearing a Sammy Sosa jersey to the wall helped him. He loved Jamaica, St. Lucia in California, Disney, Holland, Michigan, and visiting grandparents in Florida. He had super close Glencoe friends. I know some of them are here. Some of their families are here. There was something special about the Glencoe boys that he hung out with. Central school friends, grade school friends. He was bigger than most, and he first enjoyed playing football, but he never really liked hurting people. He felt bad on the football field every single time someone got hurt. Maybe he was just too kind to be a football player. He was a starting blindside tackle his sophomore year, and everything changed when he got a concussion the next year. He lost his way. He changed friends. He stopped playing sports. He was always proud of his Jewishness, and I love the fact that his huge Star of David on his chest, a family tradition that 3 out of 4 of you fulfilled on one Hanukkah. While he struggled in school, he was wicked smart. A visual learner, he always followed his own path. And that led him to the music business as a YouTube influencer. And a new persona, Music Biz Marty, where he broadcast every night. People loved him. People adored him. He was known by many names. He was a big man with a 56-inch chest, and an amazing ability to unite strangers, a presence for so many. He made people laugh. He made people cry with laughter. He put smiles on people's faces. He could brighten up everyone's day. He truly cared for the people, and he was filled with comfort for those who needed it. Deep, deep down in this big, big person was a good man who just wanted to make the world a safer place for those who were vulnerable. Nick was so articulate and witty and overall entertaining. If he was here right now, he most certainly wouldn't want anyone to be sad. He would want his legacy to continue, and I know that it will. He was known by a lot of names online. Music Biz, MBM, Big Dog, Big Cat, Big Boy, a gentle giant, a big teddy bear, the king, an animal lover, Marty, Nick, a giant, the world's Stratego and Connect 4 champion. He was known as King of the Goblin Slayers. He was known as a legend, a Drift King hero, the King of Akron, an internet trolling genius, a maverick, the best streamer to ever do it, a content creator, an institution to those on the internet. He was a great showman, an enormous presence in any venue, an unmatched entertainer, and a friend. His shoes can never be filled. I went through, and as I said before, I've never met anyone like Nick before in my 30 years as a rabbi. Literally hundreds of messages, thousands of messages, thousands of followers. Catherine writes, Nick was a wonderful person. He is the only reason I've gotten so far in university. He inspired me to never give up because he never did. He had a good heart, and he would do anything to see people smile. Watching his videos brought me comfort and joy when I needed it most. When I go out on my own, I want to be just like Nick. I will never, ever give up because Nick would not. He brought so much light into so many people's lives. I'm sending you hugs. John writes, R.I.P. Nick, a.k.a. Music Biz Marty. You have left us with so many memories and laughs. You will truly be missed by many of us around the world that found you many years ago on YouTube. He could make me smile and laugh out loud. That's a rare character trait these days. To those close to him, may God comfort you. From a fan in California. Another fan in St. Louis writes, if there was a Mount Rushmore of this game, Nick would be there 3 times. While you were funny and entertaining and charismatic, you also had a level of kindness that shined in everything you did. It's truly hard to believe that you are gone, and there won't just be able to tune into your streams and hear your voice. You gave us the gift of laughter, and whether you realized it or not, you were a legend. You will be missed. Sarah, a longtime viewer, writes from Pennsylvania. He'd never admit this, but he brought a lot of people together and created a community. Nick, or Marty, was a natural entertainer and a comedian. It was near impossible to look away from whatever he was up to, and completely impossible to not laugh at his shenanigans. It now feels impossible that he's gone. My heart and prayers go out to his family and to all of his loved ones. Alav HaShalom. May he be remembered with blessing. Truly a legendary figure within a massive community that he created. He will never be forgotten. A human of mythic proportions, a righteous warrior for the innocent. Rest in peace. From a fan in Massachusetts. And the list just goes on and on and on. The memories go on and on and on. Goodbye, charming friend. You made me laugh on my worst days. Now I'm crying my heart out. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. We will meet again. From a fan and friend in Israel. Your videos and live streams kept me from feeling lonely and sad on so many nights. And you always brought laughter and happiness to your viewers. So many people's lives have been changed forever for the better because of you. You were gone way too soon. You will be missed. Rest in peace, the King of Akron. Beth. And finally, yesterday, as soon as I witnessed Music Biz Marty turn a small, lonely, and confused man in Akron into a rock star overnight, I knew that I was witnessing someone who was ahead of the curve, on the top of his game, a true genius and a master of his craft. Nick was a once-in-a-lifetime talent whose life was taken way too soon. Rest in peace. You'll be missed from all over the world. Friends, I tell you that there are hundreds and hundreds of comments like that, all throughout the internet, all throughout different places where Nick touched lives. Sometimes you knew it, sometimes you didn't. But the impact that he had on so many is so great. Wendy, I love that you started to listen to the radio, and Nick loved that you were online with him. You found comfort there after many years. Realizing that some people today lead nonlinear lives, and we have to learn how to accept that. And as one of you said so beautifully yesterday, sometimes we have to learn that we can't fit a square peg into a round hole. We can try and try and try, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And once you accepted that, you could simply enjoy who he really was, and Nick could enjoy who he really was. And for that, we're very grateful. There's never just one way to live our lives. And once you accepted him for who he was, you knew that you could love him, and he knew that he was loved. He was never unhappy with his own life. He loved the freedom. He loved the creativity. He used his brain in ways that most of us never could figure out. He went his own path. Here was a man, even at age 38, who was at peace. And so I hope that we all take comfort in that. He had a huge impact on so many. Sometimes it's not till you die that you understand and realize how great of a person someone was. Here was a young man whose vision was expansive. I truly meant what I said at the beginning, that as 30 years of being a rabbi in Chicago, I never met anyone like Nick. I remember when we buried Hannah. I'm bigger than life, trying so hard to give comfort, because he always cared about the vulnerable. He always cared about those who needed just a little bit more. We stand on his shoulders now. I was drawn to the world of music when I was thinking about Nick. And I went to one of my favorite musicians, Bruce Springsteen, who often talked about someone who had a huge impact on his life. He always talked about the big man. And those Springsteen's fan knows who the big man was, the saxophone player, Clarence Clemens. And just like Nick had a big personality, so did Clarence. Nick was our big man. Everything he did was big. And when Bruce Springsteen talks about his big man, he once said, the big man was big. Everything about him was big. His laugh was big. His personality was big. His size was big. His problems were big. His heart was so big. Just like Nick. He was elemental in my life, Springsteen said. And losing him was like losing the rain. Bruce concluded, let's hear it for the biggest man you ever saw. See you in the next life. I hope we can take comfort in knowing that while his body gave out, his soul lives on. I hope that we can take comfort in knowing that the big man will always remain big for all of us. And it's our opportunity, it's our hope to reflect on a life, whether it's a few days, a few years, 38 years, or his grandma's brochure in the pocket of the suit from 8 years ago, a long and full life. No matter how much time we have, it's what we do with that time that's most important. We measure lives not in time but in grace, in the joy with which they live and the love that they leave behind. Nicholas leaves so much love behind. And now it's our opportunity to stand on his shoulders, on those great big shoulders of that 56-inch chest, and see the world and help others in some small way. May he rest in peace. I ask that you please rise. El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedushim Teharim Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Nisan Ben David Vavikniki Shahalacha Lolama Bal HaRachamim Yesterehu Beseter Kanafav Lolamim V'yitzror Bitzror HaChaim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkavav v'nomar amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence to Nick Biegler, who has entered eternity. May he find refuge forever under the shadow of God's wings. May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. In the Jewish tradition, we have one prayer that does not talk about death, but rather reaffirms our commitment to life. We say at the end of a funeral, and we'll say it again at the burial, a prayer called the Kaddish prayer. Kadesh, holiness. There are those who say that the Lord's Prayer is modeled after this Kaddish prayer, because it doesn't talk about death at all. It's actually written in the future tense, hoping for a better world. And it says, magnified and glorified and extolled are you, God. May the one who makes peace in the heavens let peace descend on us and on all the world. And so we say the Kaddish prayer in his honor and in his memory. For the very first time, we will continue to say his name for 30 days during the period of Shloshim at Congregation Am Shalom. We will continue to say his name on Yom Kippur and on Shavuot and on Pesach during the Yizkor service, along all that who have died in this past year, and on Yom Kippur, ending that year. We will say his name one final time in this year of 5785. And at the anniversary of his death each year, we will say his name. But as we talked about yesterday, you don't need to gather in a minyan to remember him. There are so many ways that we will remember him. When we look out and we see each other, when we make someone's life better, when we lift someone up who needs lifted, when we use the bigness that we have inside of us to help others, we'll continue the goodness that he brought to this world. And so in his honor and his memory, we say the Kaddish prayer. Those online, please join us. Those in this room, please join us. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabba, Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayed kol Beit Yisrael. Bagala bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mavarach le'olam omeh omaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit raman v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit halev v'yit halal shmei dekudsha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, yimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Go your way, for God has called you. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. May God comfort you among all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And let us all say,